Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar 7 Big Mistakes When Aligning Corporate Sales and Marketing Teams, presented by Peter Strohkorb and hosted in collaboration with our webinar partner, Redback Conferencing. My name is Sarah Anderson, sorry for that, and I'm in charge of the AMI's communications and content. Before we get started, I'd like to go through some housekeeping to ensure your experience is as seamless and interactive as possible. First of all, if you experience any difficulty in hearing sound throughout the webinar, please feel free to listen in by dialing the phone number on your screen and then entering the passcode provided. You can write in the text box at any time and we'll give you those details. Please note the webinar will be recorded and we'll send a link out to you to access this as well as the slides in the next few days. If you'd like to ask a question throughout the webinar, please use the text facility in the bottom left of your screen. You can also use this feature to post comments and technical questions or just to chat and share information. The hashtag AMI webinar can be used for tweets. We'll be conducting a few poll questions and include the report as a value add when we send the slides out too. Before we get started, I'd like to quickly restate the AMI's purpose in advancing the marketing profession. Our aim is to ensure our members have the resources they need to fuel their abilities and put them ahead of the game to unlock their potential for them to create value now and lead their organisations into the future. We're focused on listening to ensure we constantly evolve to meet the changing needs of our members. Please contribute your ideas, thoughts and knowledge through our social media channels or by emailing editor@ami.org.au. If you're not yet a member, we encourage you to take advantage of the benefits membership provides, including access to industry insights and research, discounted registration for professional development, public liability and professional indemnity insurances, complimentary marketing publications, access to AMI talent sourcing, and a range of discounts through our affiliate partners. If you're part of an organisation with 5 or more marketers, corporate rates offer a significant discount. Finally, if you have 5 or more years of industry experience, the Certified Practicing Marketer, or CPM program, is the industry-wide leading accreditation that offers high-level recognition. Please visit our website for more information. It's now my pleasure to introduce Peter Strohkorb, a friend of the AMI. Peter has extensive experience in and a passion for facilitating collaboration between sales and marketing teams over his 15 years of experience with multinational firms. This has led him to create the One Team method, which you'll hear about in the presentation today. He's very active as a speaker, lecturing at the University of Wollongong, and is a frequent keynote speaker and panellist. He's also releasing a book later this year. He's been recently appointed as a board director of the Australian Information Industry Association too. Thank you very much for making the time, Peter. Let's get started with the webinar.
Thank you, Sarah. Very nice to be here, and good morning to people in Brisbane and Adelaide, and good afternoon to those in Sydney and elsewhere in the world. I think we had one registrant from Canada. I hope you're here and it's not too late in the evening for you. So good morning and good afternoon to you, and let's get started. So if you're in marketing, or even if you're not in marketing, you probably know that a few things have changed over the last 10 years, and in particular, the role of the seller versus the buyer has changed in a big way. We're going to talk about that in some more detail shortly. The other thing that's happened is that the boundaries between sales and marketing are becoming increasingly blurred, and we'll look at why that is. There's a lot of technology out there promoting themselves as being the solution to any of the ensuing problems at the moment. And while I have to preface, I have nothing against technology, but what I've seen happen in a lot of organizations is that vendors come in and say, you just put our software in and everything will be fine. And of course, if you've gone through a fairly large CRM implementation over the last few years, then you will know that it's not always fine, and it's not always that simple. And the thing is that technology is not a solution for a people issue, right? So if we have a problem with people not talking to each other or not working together as well as they could, leading with the technology is not really a great solution. What we advocate is that a communication problem is usually foremost a people problem, and we try to address the people dimension first before we move on to then the processes and the metrics that underline those processes, and then we say, what technology can you deploy to support the processes and the people? So we advocate that the sequence should be, resolve the people matters first, align your processes and agree on the metrics, and then look at the technologies that you want to use to support all that. So, and it's all because we're dealing with people and not robots, and we're all human beings, and we have emotions and egos, and and sometimes politics gets in the way, and so we want to smooth all that out and have people working together harmoniously. And to do that, we need what we call a holistic approach, and this is again the people, process, technology paradigm we're talking about. I promised I was going to elaborate a little bit on the changes that have taken place in the industry, and you'll see here on this slide that this is kind of the more traditional sales cycle where a sales rep proactively goes out and finds a prospect, initially a suspect, and then turns them into a prospect and hopefully into a customer. And the whole idea behind this was that it's the sales rep in charge of the sales cycle, going out, procuring the suspect, the prospect, and then guiding them through the cycle to become a customer, closing the sale, and starting all over again. What's happened over the last few years is that the power of the purchase has actually been taken away from the sales rep, and it's moved on to the buyer. Now, any of you who have bought anything of decent value recently will find that you've probably gone online to do research on the thing that you're looking for. You've then informed yourself on what you can have, what price you should pay, who's got the best offer, and so on. And then you've probably created a short list of vendors that you then want to talk to and negotiate with, and then choose one to buy from. And the thing that research shows is that up to 90% of your decision making is completed before you even contact a vendor. So the vendor pretty much doesn't know that you exist and that you're actually interested in their stuff until you contact them and you say, look, I'm interested in your stuff, I've done all this research, and I know already what I want, and I know what price I should pay, can you sell it to me? Now, from a salesperson's perspective, that's a disaster, because you can't lead the sale and you can't cross-sell, upsell, and sell things at a price that you would like to, because the buyer is very well informed already on what they can have and who they can have it from. So what marketers are now trying to do is to basically attract the attention of the buyer while they're still going through their research phase, and they're doing that through variously called inbound or content or social media marketing, and basically making themselves visible during the research phase in the buyer's journey, so that you basically say, look at me, look at me, look at me, and the buyer will be attracted to you and want to look at your things. And the way to do that is to have content out there that actually says, we know what we're talking about, we're specialists in this particular area, we can help you, and come to us for more information. And you can see here that there's lots and lots of different channels that this can be conducted through, which is why social media and content marketing is actually quite a complex field that marketers are still wrapping their brains around. And the interesting thing is that a lot of vendors again come to the fore and say, just put our software in and you'll be a champion in this field. But of course, the technology is only as good as the people using it, and a lot of us are still coming to grips with what content marketing really means to our organization and our clients, and how we can best facilitate the outcomes and benefits from this. Got a question from Heather here. She's saying that how is the buyer's journey impacted by a bespoke service rather than an actual product? So does it apply to a service offering as well as a hardware product offering? And Heather, I don't think there's much of a difference, because hopefully we've gone away from the old features and benefits presentations that marketing used to do and say, look, our widget has 3 of those and 4 of those, and therefore you should buy it. And we're now talking about business outcomes that the product or service can achieve for us, and also quantified in those means. So saying basically, you spend $1 with us and we'll give you $10 back in efficiencies or added sales or higher margins and that sort of thing. So I don't think that from a methodology perspective there's much of a difference. At least there shouldn't be much of a difference these days. unless you're selling a commodity like, say pencils. So we've talked about that organizations are now trying to get the attention of the buyer during their research phase, but it's not trivial. Here's some stats, admittedly from the States, but it highlights how difficult it is to actually get your message across to those people that you want them to, and how turned off, how switched off the buyers are really to things that they don't find relevant in their lives. And with the and on the internet, it's very easy for you to turn things off. It's not the same as on TV or radio, but you can actually deselect yourself from lists, and you can invoke spam legislation and that sort of thing. So it's a big challenge for marketers to actually make themselves heard at the right time, in the right location, to the right people. Frank's asking whether the lines between sales and marketing blurring are an opportunity or a problem, and Frank, I would say both, right? And it depends on where you sit. Those organizations that have sales and marketing collaborating well should present to the buyer a seamless picture anyway, right? So if I'm attracted to your organization through your content marketing, and I contact the buyer, I want the buyer to say exactly the same thing as what I read on the website, right? So if they tell me a different story, or they try to sell me a different product, I'm going to go, look, these guys are not really helping me. I'm going to go somewhere else because I can. So those organizations that have their sales and marketing teams aligned and collaborating well will see it as an opportunity. Those that are still stuck in the 20th century mindset of sales does its thing and marketing does its own thing, and we're selling on features and price, I think they'll have a big problem. Frank, I hope that answers your question there. Okay, now I just want to show you an interesting trend slide. So this is Google, and it's basically showing you how many times people have used the term advertising or marketing over the last 10 years via Google search, right? And the obvious thing to see that you can see here is that the trend has been down. So there's fewer people these days looking for advertising or marketing in search terms than there were 10 years ago. Now let's have a look. Let's have a look at what happens if we put the word digital in front of that. And of course, you can see it's the opposite is the case. So digital marketing was not much heard of in 2004-05, but now in 2014 it's jumped up quite a bit, and I think we'll see that that trend accelerate over time. Commensurate with that, digital marketing budgets have increased dramatically. There's like a threefold increase over 5 years here, and if we extrapolate the line for 2015 and beyond, I think we'll hit 50% very soon. Probably not in 2015, but definitely by 2016. And I think it's IBM that brought out a statistic 2 years ago saying that the IT budget of the CMO, so the Chief Marketing Officer, will exceed that of the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, by 2015, right? So it means that marketing will have a greater IT budget than IT, and that's largely due to services being available in the cloud, and also through big data analytics that is now becoming available, and a lot of marketers are using in their daily lives to make sure that they hit the right targets at the right time with the right messages. Now, it's not just us saying that marketers are still getting it wrong. There's actually a study from the Fornays group in the UK, and they basically asked CEOs, what do you think of your CMOs? And I think somewhat surprisingly, 70% of marketers were not living up to the expectations of their CEOs. And we've shown here a list of the expectations that the CEO had in them. And as you would expect from a CEO, it's about dollars and value and ROI. Now, we all know, those of you who are marketers, we all know that showing ROI is more difficult for a marketer than it is for a sales manager, because sales is relatively easily measured. You either hit your targets or you don't, and there's a dollar value. With marketing, you get number of marketing originated leads, the thought leadership, brand awareness, brand presence, brand recall. There's intangible as well as tangible metrics there, and they're not always going to be easily related to actual sales, and so marketers always have a harder task at justifying their budget than sales managers do, and that then can lead the CEOs to thinking, oh, what are they actually doing? What are marketers actually doing for me? And what we find also is that exact attitude often exists in sales as well. Where sales say, we bring in the money, marketing spends it, they should be working for us, right? Or, what are they even doing? And we've seen many instances where marketing people have created content and thought leadership papers and lead generation campaigns, and chucked them over the fence to sales, and said, wiping our hands and saying, that's it, we've done our job, now it's up to sales to sell. And sales says, well, we can't use any of that stuff. Marketing is useless, so therefore we've got to do our own marketing. And so you end up with a situation whereby marketing creates stuff that nobody uses, and salespeople play marketing instead of selling, and it's kind of distracting for both parties, and it's usually wasteful. So what we're advocating is, quite frankly, that we want them to work together, and we want sales to help marketing to help sales, if that makes sense. If sales can tell marketing exactly what they need to sell, and marketing has that information available, then they can make an informed decision on how they can better support sales, and then everybody wins. And marketers can focus on the stuff that sales actually uses, and salespeople don't have to play marketing, and everybody's working much more effectively. Now, that's not just us saying that. If you look at this picture here, there's a Gartner DataQuest white paper. If you look at the date, dates back to May 2007, so this is nothing new. Back in May 2007, Gartner said having sales and marketing work together is a good thing. Right? And there's quite a bit of research gone into that. You can see the ID number there, so if you look it up on Google, you'll find the paper. The other one that I've picked out here is a Harvard Business Review publication, and it's written by three really eminent sales and marketing gurus, almost, and that is Philip Kotler and Neil Rackham. And there's a picture here of Neil Rackham. If you remember, he was the one in the 80s who actually was one of the first people to scientifically study and research what makes salespeople successful, and he did that so well that he ended up inventing the spin selling methodology, whereby basically you ask a lot of questions initially to find out a bit more about the organization, then you identify the problems, then you make the problems look really bad, and then just at a time when the buyer feels panicked about having the problem, then you present your solution and hopefully close the sale. Now, that sales methodology was created in the 80s. It's a bit old now, but it's kind of revived itself and spun off different sort of children, like the provocative sale and the disruptive sale and the challenger sale and that sort of thing. So the thing about this Harvard Business Review paper is, I was really surprised that at the title, the ending the war between sales and marketing is a very strong language. They didn't call it the disconnect or the gap. They called it the war between sales and marketing, and that kind of describes that the relationship is not always as good as it could be in a lot of organizations. And I've had a CEO of a quite a large Australian IT organisation say to me, give me this quote, and he's allowed me to use it in my book. And he said, there's a gap between sales and marketing. The larger the organisation, the larger the gap. And it's kind of a bit of a truism, because the larger they are, the more siloed they are, and the less they talk. So speaking of the less talk, here's some quotes that you might hear from salespeople and from marketing people about each other. I won't read them all out, they're pretty self-explanatory. But what I would like to hear from you, if you just type in, just say yes or no, whether this happens in your organization. All right, so it looks like we've got some saying no, not here, some to some degree, some yes, and even some yes with an exclamation mark. So I'm guessing that that means really yes. And I like PLF, who says we've gotten rid of those people. So that's probably a good thing as well. And Greg says to a degree, and he's talking about leads and processes. And I think we'll come back to Greg's point in a minute. This next slide shows an image of a CSO Insight report. So the report was from 2013, but it asked CSO, sorry, CSO is an American term, means Chief Sales Officer. So basically your head of sales, and they've asked them, what are your priorities for 2014, so for this year? And the interesting thing was that only running second to enhanced lead generation, which kind of you could interpret in a number of ways. Does it mean more leads, or does it mean better leads, and does it mean improved processes and lead management processes? But only second to getting better leads or more leads was aligning sales and marketing, and that really shows that the problem out there is prevalent, that sales and marketing are not talking to each other as well as they might. So you're in the right place for this webinar, because that's a very important priority for a lot of organizations. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to run a bit of a poll about your organizations, and I would encourage you to answer the poll, because what we're going to do is we're not only going to show the results now, but after this webinar we're going to crunch the numbers a bit and create a small report for you, which we will send to all the participants online here today. So the more of you fill in this poll, the more data we'll have, and the report will be of higher quality for you. And it's a bit of a value add to the webinar today, as a bit of a bonus. So if you could just step through that and fill it in, and I'll come back to you at the other end. All right, so we're looking at what size is your organization, and we're going to show you the result for this question. Oh, okay. It's already on the screen, beg your pardon. So the majority looks like from SMEs, and then quite a good percentage, 30% from reasonably mid-sized organizations, and then actually quite a good percentage from large organizations. So a bit of everything here, and I'm very pleased to see that the representation from medium and large organizations, because according to that CEO that I was just citing, the larger the organization, the larger the gap, so it's probably more relevant to you. The next one is we want to know the makeup of the audience here today. We want to know, whether you're from sales or from marketing. Sometimes there's sales and marketing directors, so you might be both. And you might have some people here who are not really in sales or marketing, but maybe in support or in IT or in finance or whatever else, and you might be interested in the subject matter as well. We'll just give this a little while for you to type in your answers and then have a look at the result. Okay, so we've got quite a few marketers, not a lot of salespeople. If you're in sales, welcome to this. We'd like to hear more from you. What do you think? The other interesting thing is that we've got people who are both quite highly represented, 1/3. That's a really good number, and I'm pleased that nobody's here from neither. Although it would be interesting to have finance here, or procurement, or IT, and see what find that they're interested in our subject matter as well. So thank you for that. And now here's the key question. This is the $64,000 question. How well are your teams working together? How good is the collaboration between sales and marketing? And we've basically given you 5 options to choose from. I'll just pause for a little bit and give you time to answer. Okay, so this is quite interesting. A lot of you are playing it safe and saying okay, cheats. And there's a small smattering of you saying not very well, so about 15%, which is kind of reflective of the answers that you gave us earlier when we asked, do you have these sentences being uttered in your sales and marketing teams? Nobody says terribly, which is good, and one of you is saying seamlessly. I'd like to hear from you, whoever you are, and I'd like to have a chat with you offline, because that's really phenomenal. We don't get that a lot, that people say seamlessly. So I'd be really interested in your case study if you can contact me after the webinar. And then there's quite a few here saying well, and that's kind of encouraging as well. Although that obviously that leaves still some room for improvement. Okay, let's move on. And we're looking at the mistakes that organizations make when they're trying to align their sales and marketing efforts. So the first mistake, and the one that we kind of see the most, is the notion that that organizations actually stick their head in the sand and do nothing. Oh no, we don't have that problem here. We know that this exists in other organizations because we've seen the white papers and we've read the reports and all that sort of thing. But not here. We don't have that problem here, and that's kind of the worst thing you can do, because denying that there is a problem, or denying that there's room for improvement and merely accepting the way things are, is never really a good idea. And if sales and marketing are working in their silos and are blissfully unaware of each other's efforts and activities, then you just won't get the best result for the organization. And the I've run some executive roundtables, and often I hear, well, sales and marketing are not working together. That's just a fact of life. Nothing you can do about it. And the thing is, you can do something about it, and that's why we developed the method. And the organization's actually better off if you do something about it. If as I said earlier, sales can help marketing to help sales, everybody wins. Sales will go up. Sales reps will be happier because they feel better supported. Marketing will actually get the praise of the sales department for a change, and if the CEO hears good things about marketing, then the marketing team will rise in the eyes of the CEO, and will be pretty happy for that reason. And let's face it, an organization where people are trying to support each other and help each other is a much happier place to work in than one where there's blame and finger pointing between departments. Your leads are not good, or oh no, you guys can't sell, and you're not following up the leads. The leads are not high quality. All that sort of stuff goes away if you actually work together. And in terms of sticking your head in the sand and doing nothing, I've got a white paper out that talks about this issue, and a couple of the case studies that I've cited there is that, how did Kodak miss the digital camera revolution? It's because they weren't out there in the marketplace looking to see what's really going on. They were sticking their head in the sand and saying, no, we're the market leaders, nothing can happen to us. And guess what? It did. Same with Canon. They rested on the laurels a bit and made their cameras in different degrees of quality, but completely missed the smartphone revolution and are suffering in terms of market share these days. So doing nothing, sticking your head in the sand and denying that there is an opportunity to improve is really not a good thing. Mistake number 2. And this is what I call smart quick fixes. We've got a number of quick fixes that organizations like to deploy. And the first quick fix is to provide more sales training. So they're saying sales are down, we need to create more, we need to do more training, give more training to the salespeople, and then we'll get more sales. Easy, right? Now, again, just like I don't have a problem with technology, I don't have a problem with sales training either. But what we've seen actually in the field is that the sales training is predominantly a box that gets ticked by either HR in terms of professional development, or by the sales manager because there's a budget and they don't want to lose that next year. So we're going to give the salespeople sales training. That means we're going to take them out of the field for 3 days, stick them into a room with a facilitator, and we're going to teach them about selling. By the way, what we've seen is that salespeople don't get compensated for those 3 days that they lose, and they're still expected to hit the same targets for that month. And for that reason, they're not really keen on being there in the first place, right? Plus, salespeople, particularly the successful ones, say, look, I already know how to sell. I don't really need some guy to come in and tell me how to do it better. But okay, I'll go because my boss tells me to go. The other thing that we've seen is that sales managers are way too important and too busy and too knowledgeable to actually attend the sales training, because they're sales managers, they're not sales reps. And what happens then is that they're not really in-depth informed in terms of what the sales reps are being taught. And then when after the 3 days the sales reps come out of the session and they apply the new techniques, they will invariably go through the traditional learning curve. And the traditional learning curve says things will go worse before they get better. And all the sales manager sees is things are getting worse. And after, say, a few weeks or even a couple of months of that, they go, things are getting worse. It's not making me look good. We're losing our commissions. I'm losing money here. Guys, go back to whatever you did before. And the whole sales training goes out the window. So Again, I've got nothing against sales training, provided it's applied properly and followed up appropriately with mentoring and coaching. But just ticking the box that says sales training and hoping for a quick result is just not realistic. Right? The other favorite is to hire more sales reps. Sales are down. If we have more reps, we'll make more money. Easy, right? But the problem with that approach is that not all salespeople are equally good. It costs a lot of money to onboard, to hire somebody in the first place, and then take them through the interview process and the qualification process, and then onboard them and give them their tools for the job and initial training and induction. And on average, it takes 6 months for a new sales rep to become fully proficient in their job. So you've got huge upfront costs in terms of bringing them on, hiring them in the first place, bringing them on board, training them up, and then you got to hold their hand and nurture them while they're not really performing. And then only 6 months later do you find out whether you've really hired a good sales rep or not. So while hiring sales reps sounds hugely logical, and the more people the better, it's actually attracting a lot of risk to the organization and not always comes off in a good way. So hiring more sales reps, again, not a bad thing, depending on how it's done and what type of person you look for and what your processes look like to mitigate your risk. Another popular one is, let's just generate more sales leads. So more leads means more follow-ups, means more sales, means more dollars, means more revenue and profitability for the organization. The benefit of that is that theoretically, if you have a fantastically well-organized lead management process, then more leads is a good thing. Especially more leads is a good thing if you get higher quality leads and not just quantity. But if you have a sales funnel that's not well organized and more leaky than it should be, or if you find that marketing generates leads that sales don't follow up on, then stuffing more leads into the top of the funnel just means that more leads will be wasted. And so a flawed sales process is not the right environment for more sales leads. You need to fix up the sales process and the lead management process before you embark on putting more leads in. And essentially, a more effective lead generation campaign should not give you more leads in terms of quantity. It should give you more leads in terms of quality. So you might actually end up with a smaller number of leads, but they're more highly qualified, and therefore they are more effective in following up. So the best thing to do here is to not address the symptom with quick fixes, but look at the underlying issues in terms of buyers, sales and marketing not performing at their highest level, and how can they better support each other, and then apply those quick fixes on top of a foundation where the two sides can actually work together and collaborate. The mistake number 3 is not having a referee, a go-between, somebody in charge of making sure that sales and marketing talk to each other, and how they talk to each other, and how well they talk to each other, and how effectively they talk to each other. So what we're saying, get somebody who's actually in charge of helping the collaboration along. It doesn't need to be an executive. It could just be somebody that says, what do you need, and just as a bit of a go-between the two departments. And we find that organizations who have that in place are doing far better in their sales and marketing collaboration than those that just rely on the individuals doing it themselves. Mistake number 4 is neglecting the human element. Now, have a look at that lady's face there. There's a guy talking at her from behind, and she's going, "Really, beam me up, Scotty. Get me out of here." And that happens in a lot of organizations when a process or even technology is imposed on the individuals without their prior involvement or without their buy-in, and then they go, "Well, actually, what's in it for me? Why should I use it? What's actually going to be better for me? And is it actually going to be better? And I like my old system much better than my new system. So again, what we advocate is that you solve the people issue first, and then you look at your processes, and then you look at your technologies. And for God's sake, don't neglect human nature. Don't neglect the people dimension that actually want to be brought on board and want to be made to feel relevant, and who actually have to then use the system and live with it. Mistake number 5. Now, I've touched on this before. This is where technology, you just put the technology in and snap, a miracle occurs and everything is fine. And as we've seen time and time again, just sticking the technology in and hoping for the best is not going to deliver a miracle. I've seen plenty of technology rollouts that went over budget, over time, and underperformed simply because the people weren't ready to adopt the new technology. They didn't know what was coming until it came. They resisted the change. They felt that using the new technology doesn't give them any benefit, and if we take again the case of CRM, customer relationship management software, a lot of salespeople don't see CRMs as a sales tool, as a sales support tool. They often see it as a sales management tool, whereby they're actually giving something up to give data, contacts, and reports to management that they consider actually their own IP, and that they consider a bit of their job security, because if they know who they're talking to and about what, and nobody else, then it's harder for them to be replaced. So by and large, salespeople don't really like using CRMs unless there's something in it for them, and that's the thing that I'm driving at here. That technology alone will not provide the outcome. You've actually got to bring your people with you. And that's a favorite saying of mine, that you can have the latest technology and the most sophisticated processes, but if you don't bring your people along on the journey, it'll all come to nothing. Number 6, we're looking at who should take the initiative. And I know that we've got quite a few marketers on the line here, and I would encourage you to say, we think we can do a better job for sales, and if sales and marketing collaborated a bit more closely, and sales told us what they need, and we can actually make an informed decision on what we should give them, and then we will know exactly what we don't need to focus our energy on anymore, and we will know what types of things that will help sales, and then everybody will be better off. And I encourage all you marketers to go to your CEOs and say, we think we can do a better job, and here's how. Let's just work more effectively together. And I think the CEO would really like that. The CEO will say, that's great that marketing's taking the initiative and trying to help sales more. Because let's face it, a lot of organizations, we have sales complain about marketing that they're not really supporting them, and we have seen marketers basically sticking their head in the sand and saying, no, not here. So I think there's really an opportunity for sales managers and for marketers to go and say, I'm being proactive, I'm driving this initiative, and I want to really help the organization to perform better in terms of sales and marketing proactivity. So the point of this mistake number 6 here is not involving the executives. Right? If you can get the buy-in of the executive and their support, then the chance of success is much enhanced, and everybody will know why they're doing it and that it's actually important to the organization. The last mistake is number 7, expecting immediate results. Now, I've talked about the change management curve. It's never going to go exponentially up, like you see in this picture here. It's going to go either sideways or a little bit down as people are getting used to the new paradigm. But over time, you will see that it'll bring really good results, and we've seen that when we roll out the one team method, we'll see that within 3-month time frame, you will see closer collaboration between sales and marketing. And within the 6-month time frame, you will see improved sales lead follow-up and management. And within a 12-month time frame, you will see improved financial results, and sometimes even sooner than that. So be ready for the fact that it won't change overnight, and you won't get from 1 month to the next a dramatic turnaround, but you will see results over time. Now, Julia is asking a question here. Do you think that marketers are not supporting the sales team? And are they doing things that they think are a priority? Well, this is exactly what I'm talking about, Julia, that if sales and marketing were talking to each other more effectively, then this wouldn't happen, because marketing has its priorities that are not always the same as sales. And I'm not advocating that marketing is to slavishly follow whatever sales tells them. I'm talking about marketing getting better insight from the sales force in terms of making better decisions, better informed decisions, and opening up a channel to sales to say, sales, come on, help us to help you, and then starting a dialogue. Okay, just moving on our website, there's a research report, 30-page research report where we investigated 185 B2B organizations, and we said, what do the ones that are successful, i.e. the ones that have had increased revenue, what do they do differently to the ones that are not growing? And that is available on the website. But the upshot is that the correlation between success of the organization and collaboration between sales and marketing teams is very clear. In fact, it's so clear that we said you are twice as likely to suffer financial outcomes if your sales and marketing teams are not collaborating. So in other words, organizations where sales and marketing are collaborating are twice as likely to be financially successful than those where it's not the case. So it's quite a significant result. So if you think about it, it's not 10% or 20%. It's actually twice the difference, double the difference. So that's huge in terms of statistical measures. This picture is part of the report, and we're talking about how much does sales and marketing alignment or collaboration relate to financial business success. And on the left-hand side is an image of sales and marketing alignment for successful organizations versus on the right for non-successful organizations. And basically the way to interpret the graph is that the more the lines meet in the middle, the more aligned the organization is. And you can see in one glance that the picture on the left is much more aligned than the picture on the right, which then again brings me back to the point I just made, that there's a direct correlation between financial success and sales and marketing alignment. Right? Again, that report is available online, and at the end of this webinar I'm going to make you a special offer that will show us how this applies to your organization. You get an opportunity to find that out. I'm going to skip a few slides because we're running a little bit behind. The thing that we're talking about here is that sales talks to the market, to customers, clients, and the marketplace. Marketing talks to sales, to the marketplace. But if they're not talking to each other, then the risk becomes that the organization is confusing the customer, and the customer will just turn off and go somewhere else. And so what the one team method is trying to achieve is actually going from a paradigm whereby the collaboration and the communication between sales and marketing is not great, to one where they're actually talking to each other and to the market and working harmoniously together. And then the ultimate aim is to get this sort of yin-yang relationship between sales and marketing, where they're actually seamlessly working together. So, to coin a phrase, as in smarketing, sales and marketing working together, and including the customer in that picture as well. Here's some of the financial benefits of smarketing, of getting sales and marketing to collaborate more effectively together. And I have a slide here that breaks that down. So I'm going to spend 2 minutes on this. Here is a base case where we're selling something for $100 and we're making $10 on it. So sales revenue is $100, profit before tax is $10, right? And I'm going to show you how just a small increase in sales productivity actually has a great impact on profitability. Here we go. We've got three scenarios here. One shows, what is the benefit of hounding the sales reps and trying to reduce their selling expenses by just 5%. So in other words, don't take that client out to lunch, just buy them a cup of coffee, travel on the train as opposed to in your car or taxi, just reducing the direct selling expenses by 5%. Or increasing the sales volume, so selling 5% more by 5%, or raising your price by 5%, or conversely, avoiding reps discounting by 5%. Right? So if you raise the price by 5%, it'll have a similar effect than if you avoid them from discounting 5%. Right? And without going into all the lines here, you can see that reducing direct selling expenses by 5% gives you only a 3% benefit in profit before tax. So it's not really that effective if a sales manager really hounds you for not buying that cup of coffee to the client. Whereas if you can raise your sales volume by 5%, it actually means that you get 20% more profitability for a 5% increase in sales. And equally, if you raise your price by 5%, you get a 50% improvement in sales in profitability at the after expenses. So while it may be difficult to sell something at a higher price, it may be possible for you to avoid sales reps discounting by 5%, and that will give you a huge improvement in the outcome in terms of profitability as well. So it is possible that a very small improvement in sales productivity can lead to a huge improvement in as well as revenue definitely in productivity. And it's kind of a 5% increase in sales can actually have a 4 times improvement in profitability. So 5% leading to 20%, and that's just something that every sales rep and every marketer should keep in mind. So this is the same thing, just showing you in the bar graph. This slide kind of shows common challenges in sales and marketing teams and how the one team method overcomes those. We'll make the slides available to you afterwards, and so there's no need for you to go through this individually. You can look it up when you get the slides together with the report. But what I do want to do now is make you an offer, and then I'll take some of your questions as well if we have time. That picture that we showed before, the picture of the alignment between the successful organizations and the less successful organizations, we can produce that for your organization as well. And so what the offer is that we will give you a free executive workshop or a free assessment at a high level. If you just type in your mobile phone number now, we'll get back to you and talk to you about that. So if you're interested in a free executive workshop, or if you're interested in a free assessment, then I'll come back to you and talk to you about that offline. The other thing is that it's not for everybody. The one team method really applies to large organizations more than it does to smaller organizations. So we'll need to see how well you qualified for that offer, but the offer is there nonetheless. Okay, let's have a look at some questions.
Okay, we'll start taking them now. There are a few that have already come through, and if we don't get them through, we'll provide a short Q&A document. Otherwise, you're welcome to contact Peter. So we had one which was, isn't the term sales outdated in today's environment? Sales conveys a product push rather than a customer focus. Isn't sales outdated as a term now because we're focusing on what customers want rather than sort of pushing things out there. We're sort of wanting them to come to us, providing the information and helping them with solutions.
Okay. Who asked that question?
I think it was Tessa.
Oh, Nicola. Okay.
Nicola,
thanks for the question. It's a good one. And I think that the lines between sales and marketing are blurring. That doesn't mean sales is going away. All right. So you may go online in the buyer's journey and you find, you do all your research, but after you've conducted your research and you've got your shortlist and you want to contact your vendors, what you don't, in most cases, what you're not looking for is just somebody who takes your order and takes your money and then you walk away, unless you're buying commodity, and in which case you wonder why you should talk to a sales rep at all, and why you can't just buy the thing online without talking to a human being. Traditionally, what you're looking for after your research is to actually talk to somebody who knows more than you do, even though you've done your research. So you actually want to talk to somebody who's a subject matter expert and somebody who can actually advise you on this. And this is where the role of sales is changing from I'll just take your order, or I'll just sell you this bit of gear, to actually advising you in terms of the outcomes and the benefits and the benefits for that you and your organization will derive from procuring that service or that product. So even though we're talking about marketing, the essence marketing is not going to go away.
Okay, cool. Thank you. The next question is from Tessa. She says, how do you suggest we can avoid these mistakes happening before they occur rather than after? So going back to the 7 questions.
Okay, Tessa, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. And you're absolutely right. The one team method and any methodology that helps sales and marketing teams working more effectively together is not something that, if you're smart, it's not something that you want to wait for the problem to occur and then fix it afterwards. You may actually want to be proactive and say, look, our organization is growing. We're starting to develop a silo culture. We've got a head of sales, we've got a head of marketing, and we don't really have marketing in the organization. How can we avoid having the problem in the first place? And you're absolutely right. The one team method is also applicable to organizations that are in growth mode and want to avoid that problem occurring rather than waiting for it to occur and then fixing it's going to the dentist after the tooth is already painful. Right? So prevention is better than cure. Absolutely right, Tessa. Thank you.
Great. Everyone who's still here, it would be great if you could submit the webinar survey we've got. We really appreciate your feedback. It only takes a couple of seconds to fill in. Final question for the moment is from Heather. What impact would having an increased net promoter score have if your customers are advocates? Is there a financial benefit, especially if there's a shared goal for sales and marketing teams?
Yeah, okay. So, Heather, I'm taking it you mean net promoter score between the customer and the organization, or between sales and marketing? I'm not sure about that, but I'll answer both. If you can get a net promoter score out of your customers, that's a fantastic thing. And you would have seen in one of the slides that we promote this 360-degree view of sales and marketing, and including the customer as well. And the one team method caters for customer feedback that's probably given more freely to a third-party organization like ours than to the sales rep or the account manager directly. And also what we do is we anonymize the feedback so that nobody can get into trouble for speaking out and speaking their mind. But if you can get a net promoter score out of a customer, then that's a wonderful mechanism to have to actually do a better job helping them in terms of being relevant and being beneficial to them. The same thing pretty much applies also between sales and marketing, but there are other ways to measure the collaboration effectiveness between sales and marketing, and the one team method includes those, whereby you get insight into the underlying issues, and you get insight into where are the gaps and how can they be closed, even as granularly down as which people actually participating in the program and which are kind of the lone wolves that don't want to know. And you can actually help them come on board and benefit from the program as well. So Heather, that's a very good question. Thank you.
Okay, just looking. There's no one else typing, so I think we will close the webinar. Thank you everyone for taking the time out of your day. I'm sorry we did go a little bit over time, and a big thank you to Peter for your insight. We hope this... Oh, we've got someone typing. Let's see if it's a thank you or a question. All right, I think it was probably just a goodbye. So thank you everyone for turning up, and thanks again to Peter and Redback Conferencing for helping us put this on today.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you everybody on the line, and enjoy your lunch break. Bye-bye.